Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is Jeremie Poplin with Thunder Breakdown.
On the eve of game number one of the NBA Finals, welcome into a Thunder Report. My name is Jeremie Poplin. Steve McGee, he is joining us live from the Paycom Center. Steve, do I need to check your credential with where you're at right now? I think that you might be in a suite somewhere, and both of us know, man, that I don't think that you're necessarily supposed to be there in the high rollers portion of this as we get set for game number one tonight against the Pacers.
That's where I'm at. I see shrimp over there. I think I see prime ribs, so I'm definitely in the wrong spot. But my normal spots are known NBA no-nos, so I just try to find a quiet place the best I could. This place is going to get loud here in about 15 minutes, but I think we're in a safe spot for now. So let's get going.
Yeah, if someone kicks you out, I completely understand at this point. All right, so all the lead up, we had media day yesterday. It seems like that the Thunder wrapped up the series with the Timberwolves like last month, and we've just been waiting for this moment to finally get here. Is there anything that stood out to you from yesterday's media day from either team before we get set for tonight?
Well, they did finish up last month. Yeah, that was May.
That's true.
For media day is all about crazy questions from people you've never seen before. So I didn't learn much from media day other than both teams are focused, ready to go. They're great. We're great. It comes down to who wants it more. I think the advantage is the Thunder just because they have 4 home games, and Indiana only has 3. But with that said, I think Indiana's going to win a game here. I think Oklahoma City's going to win a game up there in the Hoosier State. But this is a great series, and right now I'm a little leery of the Pacers because I think they're being overlooked tonight. I think the Thunder's a 9.5-point favorite.
Yep.
That's Indiana's. They went through Milwaukee. They went through Cleveland. They went right through the New York Knicks. Winning that game one at Madison Square Garden was key to kind of set the tone in that series. And they have a great coach in Rick Carlisle. So the Thunder are going to have their hands full, I think, in this game. I think it's going to be like the Denver series going 7.
There is one thing I learned that Alex Caruso, the headband over the top of the hoodie, that is an interesting look. At least that's one thing I learned from Media Day. I'm with you. I think, yes, clearly they are a massive favorite, but I do think that people are tending to overlook the Pacers and the journey that they've been on here, and that gets us to what we both feel like are some keys to this game. I'll just read you a couple of mine here off the top, and then I want some of yours. But the one thing that is clearly evident about this is that the Thunder have lived so much on the turnover battle. No team forces more turnovers than the Thunder, 15 plus in 74 of the 98 games. Pacers do a really good job of taking care of the ball and protecting the ball. But the Thunder won both games, one in a blowout where their swarming defense did present a level of chaos against the Pacers. They didn't really handle that well. I think in one game it was either 11 or 13 turnovers. That's going to be key in this, as has been to me throughout the most of the run for the Thunder. Can they force turnovers against this Pacers bunch?
Pacers are going to have to play smart. Remember, Chet Holmgren missed both of those games against Indiana. He's going to be a big factor. Someone said the other day, what's the X factor in this? I think, this morning on radio, and I said it's Chet Holmgren. Remember, this guy wasn't walking a few months ago with that, they call it a broken hip. But he's slowly getting back into shape, really showed himself in that Denver series and also in the Minneapolis series. So they kind of have a big three right now going with Dub, Shea, and Chet. But he's the X factor for me on that. But Indiana, they have some, they didn't back into this NBA Finals against the Thunder. They have some excellent players. It's the T.J. McConnell. That's a guy I'm worried about. He can come off the bench and light you up with threes. He's done it in the past against the Thunder. Not this year, but I think it was 2 years ago. He came off the bench and knocked down 4 or 5 threes. Nebhart, Smith, those are guys that can really give Oklahoma City some problems. Obviously, you got Siakam and Halliburton, but those guys are going to get their points. It's just don't let the other guys beat you. But McConnell's the one I'm worried about the most. He could give the Thunder some problems coming off the bench. But with that said, this is the best defense Indiana will face in the playoffs by far. And when you bring a Caruso and a Cason Wallace and a Kendrick Williams off the bench, that's pretty good. That's real good.
The other thing that I wrote about was, and look, Indiana hasn't played much zone throughout the course of the regular season or postseason, but I did find a piece from Sports Illustrated, Steve, at the beginning during preseason from Tony East, and he was talking about how Rick Carlisle, they were working on a zone in the preseason. He said, hey, we've got to work on it just for situations. I only bring that up because what we saw against Denver, and also thinking back to 2011, when it was a zone defense by the Mavs in game 2 that forced a 15-point turnaround against the Miami Heat and flipped the entire script of that series. I think Rick Carlisle does not get appreciated as much as he should. I know Mark Dagnall really had some wonderful things to say about him. Rick Carlisle is a mastermind. He's a genius. I wonder if we might see a moment of that in this series at some point.
Well, Rick Carlisle is, let's just say what it is. He's a more experienced coach than Mark Dagnall. I don't think anyone here is going to argue that. Mark is extremely smart, though. But Rick Carlisle has been down the road before with the Dallas Mavericks, and he has a good team here with the Pacers. So, coaching-wise, it's going to be a chess match. In this first game, it's all about adjustments in game 2 and game 3. Game 1, they're going to be scouted. They know their game plan. Same for Indiana. And then they'll adjust after game number 1. And that's where it could get real interesting for the Thunder, because Rick Carlisle, he can play chess with the best of them. He's been in this situation before. But still, though, I think the Thunder still have more chess pieces than the Indiana Pacers to get this job done. But
are you ready for a frenzied pace tonight? I mean, from what Indiana does, and I felt like the Thunder's pace kind of got overshadowed a little bit because that's been the main storyline of Indiana so far in the playoffs. But I was joking about this morning on TV. There were a couple of possessions in the Knicks series that I was watching. I swear they had a shot up when there was only like 5 or 6 seconds off the shot clock. I mean, what they're doing and the pace they're running at, it's going to be fast and furious tonight.
Well, I was a couple of days ago, they were saying maybe Pacers need to slow it down, play a different game. And I'm like, no, don't go against what got you here. You got to run up and down the court with these guys and, match them point for point. And if you have an open shot 5, 6 seconds into the shot clock, you got to take it against this team. But, that plays in the Thunder's hand, though. Let's run. We'll run all day. We'll run for 48 minutes. We have the deeper bench, and they trust their guys. But I don't think maybe Indiana will slow down the game in game 2 if they lose tonight. But right now, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game at this point. Indiana, though, is much better with the basketball than Minnesota. So as long as Indiana keeps the turnovers under 15, it's going to be a very competitive game tonight.
You brought up the Thunder's depth, and that's been an advantage for them throughout the entire run here. But these are by far the 2 deepest benches that were in the playoffs to me, and kind of how the rotation has been even for Indiana. It's still an advantage for the Thunder, but this is not a short-sighted Indy team like we saw in Denver and Minnesota.
No, not at all. Say the question again. I was kind of maneuvering. It was starting to get loud. I want to make sure.
I'm just going to say, as you're having to navigate there through the Paycom Center, we're getting a little backstage access. Just the overall bench depth for Indiana. It was such a benefit to the Thunder for having to play a short Denver bench, a short Minnesota bench. Those rotations really tightened up. But Indiana, not quite Thunder level, but has a decent amount of depth that Rick Carlisle's used.
Yeah, they're going to play 5 guys off the bench. They would have Walker's hurt, the former Houston Cougar. He's going to be out for at least game 1, game 2. He could be back when they go to Indiana. But this is a good bench. They're going to rely on that bench. Nebhart is good. They have just Toppin's good. They have really done well acquiring pieces to build this, what they have right now. But I like Obi Toppin coming off the bench. He's a go-getter. He can get some rebounds as well. But Neesmith, he had 8 threes in that Knicks game. So watch out for him, and he'll pull the trigger immediately if he's left open. So this is a much better bench than what Minnesota had. Obviously, Denver didn't have much bench at all. Same goes for Memphis. So this is their toughest matchup. And it should be. We're in the NBA Finals, but Denver was pretty close.
What's the vibe been like, Steve, throughout the city? I'm sure you can feel the energy. Even from a distance, it seems like it's been one giant party, a celebration that this team has made it back to the finals.
Yeah, it's just cool to look on the court and you see all those national media down there. I'm like, where have you guys been all season? But it just kind of shows you how big this event is. And it's big for the state of Oklahoma to be hosting the NBA Finals, and they're also hosting the Women's College World Series. So it's just a good time for the Sooner State. People love their sports. He has stayed as we've known through the years. But the vibe will be electric tonight. There is parts of section 113 and I believe 114 that are going to be media seating. So they probably took out about 500-600 seats. So, but still, it's going to be very loud tonight. And they're going with the white T-shirts tonight, a whiteout here at the Kickoff.
What's a couple of things just right off the top of your head? I always ask you what the Thunder have to do to win tonight. Just give me two of your quick ones on what you feel like they've got to do to come away with a game one win tonight.
Well, I always try to think of something different to say, but it's, I mean, honestly, Jeremy, just play Thunder defense. Relentless, in your face, annoying defense. And some of the Pacers guys yesterday, they're annoying, and they actually wanted to say some words they shouldn't say, but they didn't. And I'm like, they're just in your face all the time, and they're a nuisance, and it gets annoying, and it can frustrate an offense. And so it comes down to defense. Thunder, that game in Minnesota where they got blown out, they didn't have the defense. So they've had some lapses. They're capable of putting out a bad performance there, but you can't do that here in the NBA Finals. But it comes down to Thunder defense. Play like you have most of the season, pretty much all the season. If you do that, you should be okay.
Last one before I let you go, and you can go get some prime rib there behind you in the suite level, is what I like about the Element. See, this is what we provide for you here. Look at that carving station, man. You're definitely going to have to get some of that before you go to your seat. I love the fact that the two teams, at least from the media day perspective, I'll be honest, I can't stand the small market talk that happens amongst the national talking heads. I don't think any of that matters, and it proves that you're not paying attention to what's really happening in this series. But I love the fact that they have mutual respect for each other, these two teams, because both of them had some quality things to say about each other yesterday.
Yeah, they do. Rick Carlisle has a long relationship with Sam Presti. That was pretty cool to hear that story at Media Day yesterday. Isaiah Thomas was here on the floor talking for NBA TV right now. That's so cool to see all the different national media members here, and there's going to be a lot of former NBA players here as well. It's so cool. But a lot of respect between these two teams, small market teams. That I hate that, you mentioned that. I hate that theory. It doesn't matter where you live. If you're good and you're enjoying it, players will come and play for you. Hartenstein didn't think twice about leaving New York to come to Oklahoma City. He saw that roster. He saw Caruso was coming over as well. I'm like, yeah, I'm climbing on board. He could have stayed in New York for a little bit less money, but he knows that the championship team was Shea, Dub, and Chet.
Steve, I'll just leave you with this. Enjoy it, man. You don't get many opportunities like this. You've covered big events, but it never gets old, does it, of being able to cover something like this, what has the potential to be one of the biggest sports stories in the entire state of Oklahoma, if they can find a way to win 4 more games, man. Enjoy tonight, and I appreciate you taking time to join us here from Inside Paycom, and go get that prime rib, my man.
We'll do. We'll talk sometime between game 1 and game 2. How about that? We'll do that.
That sounds awesome. That is Steve McGee joining us here on the live stream that we have for you here as we get set for game number 1. We'll say goodbye to Steve and goodbye to all of you as well, and we hope that you enjoy game 1 tonight with the Thunder and Pacers. Remember to tune in to news9.com and newson6.com for all of our latest Thunder coverage.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma Zone digital studio stream. Stay with News 9, online and on television, anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.